It's the Doomed and Stoned podcast with your host, Billy Goate. Hang out with us for the next few as we explore the music and the stories of the heavy underground. Brought to you by doomedandstoned.com. Hey guys, welcome to the Doomed and Stoned Show. Billy Goate here from doomedandstoned.com. With me, John Gist from Vegas Rock Revolution. Welcome to the show, John.
Hey, Billy. How you doing today?
Good, good. We're at episode number 14. Thanks for listening and sticking with us. We are now streaming on Spotify. You can hear us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're even getting on YouTube, and I've been broadcasting past episodes there. We're almost caught up with the present. By next week, we'll be able to post each episode on the same day in all the platforms. So thanks for supporting the show, guys, and please share with your friends. When we opened today, I selected a track from our latest compilation, Doomed and Stoned Latin American Duos. And this is a band from Brazil called Muñoz. And John, have you heard of these guys before?
I have seen the name around, but I'm not sure if I could quickly identify. So, seeing the name around, Muñoz.
Yeah, they're from a place called Florianopolis, which is a coastal city. And looking at it on the map, it's toward the bottom of Brazil, just catty-corner from Uruguay and Paraguay, and a city that I've been to before called Curitiba. It's a very beautiful setting for this kind of music.
Yeah.
They are a twosome. They're brothers, Mauro and Samuel Fontura, and they've been doing their thing since about 2012. They even have their own record label, I found out, Infrasound Records. This one comes from their album last year called Necromata. I found it like a really sunny, celebratory type of vibe. There's this underlying rhythm that kind of takes from what we all know from conventional 70s style stoner fuzz, but it really is distinct in a way that I can only say is Brazilian. Brazilian music has a lot of active drumming, like even when there's a melody, there's always like this constant rhythm, which gives it the sense of motion. And I just felt like the drumming on this song, Deep Sleep, I thought it was very vibrant, and I thought I'd throw it in as a way to get us warmed up today.
Yeah, that was a nice little kickoff right there. You got something good and upbeat like that and heavy. Brazil is a massive country. And you said they're down the southern part.
They are, yeah.
Just north of Uruguay.
Yep. And you can get this one for free, along with about 40 other bands and tracks at doomedandStoned.bandcamp.com. That's where you'll find Doomed and Stoned Latin American duos. It is our most recent comp. We have a new one coming out the week that this show airs, Doomed and Stoned in the Netherlands. So I'm excited about that one. And we'll probably sample from it next week. And that will also be available for free at doomedandstone.bandcamp.com. It's just a project we've been doing for the last 5 years to promote local scenes around the world. I found like with this explosion of music, it is easy to get lost. So I figured, the best way to really get people into some of these great bands, and frankly, most of them are brand new names, people got to take a risk every time they check out something new. And a lot of people don't want to do that. Understandably, you get kind of set in your ways and get comfortable with a certain number of bands and certain genre, a certain record label. I figured probably the most interesting way to get people to check out new music is to focus on local scenes, because then you've got kind of a visual of the who, what, when, where, and why. So we've been kind of going country by country and checking out different scenes, and then once in a while focusing on different trends like duos or female-fronted bands. We did a couple years ago, and we did another one that was just focused on 70s revival in music.
So who comes up with all the concept of doing each of those projects?
It was originally just me wanting to showcase the Portland scene, which is my home base. But as enthusiasm for the project really grew, other people started to volunteer and say, hey, I would love to do one for my scene. And so the next one we had was Doomed and Stoned in Mexico with Doomed and Stoned Latino Americana editor Roman Tamayo, who also did this recent one, Doomed and Stoned Latin American Duos. And then another person said, hey, I want to do Seattle, So I'll vet the people who are volunteering to head up a project like this, because it is a massive undertaking and it takes a lot of time, energy, and when you're done, you feel like you've really accomplished something. You've got to coordinate the tracks, you've got to put together the playlist, and source the art, which I always like to have also from the local scene. So it can be quite a daunting undertaking, but I'm there the whole way helping them to do it. But I always prefer somebody who is based in the local scene so they can really give us an authentic look at what's happening there. So, the latest compilation, Doomed and Stoned in the Netherlands, coming out in early June. That was from our Dutch contributor, Willem Verhappen, who said, hey, I'd like to do it. I got some time on my hands, working from home now because of coronavirus. I would love to take this opportunity to do the same for my scene. And I said, sure. And I gave him some guidelines and cut him loose.
Nice. That's amazing.
It's a lot of fun, and we've gotten some great traction with it. And most of all, I think it's turning people on to a whole world of sound that they weren't previously aware of.
I think that's important. As a country, we've made it so difficult for international bands to come over here and really have an impact. We missed a couple bands because of it, like big bands. And so it's been an ongoing thing that's been very difficult for those bands to kind of get over here with the right visas and not cost so much through everything. So when you're doing something like this, it's really a positive thing that makes it where if someone's intrigued or adventurous, it's a great go-to spot to kind of check things out. I mean, you're not expected to like everything. But if you like some bands, that's pretty cool. You discovered some bands you really like. That's kind of the way the game, I would say, works.
Yeah, definitely.
That it's positive.
Yeah.
That you get something out of it. You know what I mean? So it's always cool when people are like, oh, I love this band. And you're like, I remember that exact day I told you, listen to this. You're like, that's cool. You know, they're like fanatics now. You're like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we're doing on the show, too, is we definitely have our ear to the ground, and when we hear something special, we want to pass it along. So, John, what's first on our list today?
All right, coming out of one of the most well-known stoner labels ever, at a small stone, still putting stuff out every year, pretty damn high-quality stuff. So, pick the band Lord Fowl.
Nice.
We have talked about Lords before. Maybe the name even popped up in your and my conversation once.
Yeah, I was listening actually to that episode I uploaded to YouTube, episode number 7, I think it was, where we featured Lord Loud out of California.
And that set us off.
That set us off on the Lord trip.
Well, there's a lot of them. So, anyways, it's off the new album, Glorious Babylon. The song is In Search Of, which is comical for many of us Gen Xers. It's just a good, rockin', retro grooving, stoner riffing song. It's got a good move to it. They have 2 vocalists in this band. They're out of New Haven, Connecticut.
And In Search Of kind of was comical to Gen Xers. I'm a Gen Xer, but I don't get that.
There was a TV show called In Search Of.
Oh, okay. Was that the one with Leonard Nimoy?
Yes.
I've seen it on YouTube. I haven't actually
like
watched
Bigfoot
it.
and stuff? Yeah, the ones that In Search Of Bigfoot.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Well, that will be a little lyrical expedition for all of us then.
Is to see what In Search Of is about?
Sure.
Yeah. You know what, when you've heard them before, besides like maybe Thin Lizzy, what other kind of influences you hear in Lord Fowl, if you know much about them?
Yeah, I was listening to them in preparation for this broadcast, and that actually popped in my head. Like, who would I compare them to?
Or influenced by?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I'll have to say I know it's sacrilege to not be a huge fan of Thin Lizzy, but I've always had a heart for the heftier side of heavy music. So the Black Sabbaths, the Sir Lord Baltimores, etc. The more metallic side. And Thin Lizzy was always a little too soft for me. Out of the last couple hearings, though, I have grown to really appreciate them more.
That's totally with me, too.
Yeah.
They were never heavy enough for me. During the years that they were out a little bit before I was in high school, so I barely even knew who the fuck Thin Lizzy was. The metal was so good in the 80s, I didn't even know. I was like, okay. But their songs, a bunch of them have remained, like, on the radio consistently on classic rock stations, which is, that's a station model that's all around the world, or all around our country is a go-to. And they've had songs on there, and then you start hearing those secondary songs by Thin Lizzy, and you're like, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I saw the version of Thin Lizzy, the modern day one, Black Star Riders. I've seen them a time or two, and I actually did see Thin Lizzy open for like Judas Priest or some random thing in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's some random stuff happens with well shows-wise. Yeah, I miss going out. I miss the adventure of going to a show, paying a lot of money for this big sloppy draft here. Oh, God. But I miss it a little bit. I mean, for me, that would be not an addiction, but that's kind of my hobby.
Sure.
Just be able to get out and venture at night, go to a show, a concert, and be part of it, enjoy the music. Just get lost in the music if you want.
Yeah. Social
if you want. I mean, social scenes and music thing are always interesting on the smoke areas and stuff. But just the music itself, I'm not, I'm just that kind of fan. I want to be engaged. I want to be like, close but not too close to the stage.
Yeah,
like,
I'm with you, man.
I miss it a little bit, I admit.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I took it for granted a lot of times because I get social anxiety, so I always have a reason why I can skip a show, especially if it's a long drive. But it took being absolutely deprived of it for me to realize how valuable a thing it is to have live music, and just how much the times I've gone have really benefited me in so many ways. Sometimes it's just good to get out on the road, period, and get out of town. It just does something for you as far as a mental reset. But
how long a drive is that for you?
It's an hour and a half to Portland and back.
Round trip or each way?
Each way, yeah.
It's a 3-hour round trip.
Yeah, it's a nice haul, but it's a straight haul too. There's not a lot of stop and go, so I always like to drive.
I figure we probably have folks, that are listening to these shows weekly that probably go through a similar thing. And it'd be cool. I hope people chime in, like how long a drive they're doing typically to shows, because not everyone's so lucky as me to live in Las Vegas. Not everyone's so lucky to live in LA or Seattle or Portland or whatever. And it's interesting to hear the sacrifices some people make to get the shows. Where, I mean, I grew up with an unbelievable mother, and she drove me from Northern Virginia, from Fairfax County, to the Capitol Center, either me or usually with another friend. And that was like a 45-minute drive into a really crappy part of Maryland. It's where they actually filmed Heavy Metal Parking Lot.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, I do remember.
That's where I saw my first 6 concerts. And so I know there's other people out there that are even further away. I mean, it could be someone in the middle of Nebraska or Ohio. Yeah, every once in a while someone chimes in and is like, hey, I just drove fucking 10 hours to get here.
Jeez.
I mean, I've had people come to me and tell me that. And from Utah, Arizona, someone who's like, we drove out here, we're gonna watch the show, we're gonna drive back. And I'm like, what? Please don't drink.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of magic in being able to, when you're that dedicated, that the payoff is really big as far as just the listening experience.
And a really good heavy rock, stoner rock, psych, even in Doom, the general vibe usually is a pretty good one.
Right, you're not going to leave there with a lot of bruises from, being kicked around or...
I think, quite frankly, we have a great stoner rock, desert rock, heavy psych kind of community. It's over many platforms, many groups, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger because when you get the right best music that's being put out right now to normal people, and that's what I'll keep calling them, the people that are automatically programmed FM or they're too old and they say don't want to listen to anything, all those people. This music is getting bigger and bigger. Each time you give people like that, a certain amount of them are going to be like, holy shit, this is good. But you can't just hand them just any band because we need bands to break the door even more up. And so the bands make more money, they do better. There's more people get to share in the artistry of whether it's Lord Fowl or Sasquatch or, Freedom Hawk. I mean, these are bands that deserve to be heard. And so we just hope that if there's going to be a fucking revolution, it should be the rock and roll revolution. But let's talk about your band, which is appropriately named in this weird...
Yeah, King Gorm out of San Diego. It's a reference to King Gorm of Denmark, I believe, which is the first Viking king. So this is a 3-piece. They are all from different bands that are more or less known in the area. There's a band called Beekeeper, which is a female-fronted thrash threesome. There's a band called Grim Luck, which is a 9+ person band that has this frenetic mix of ska, which is your favorite medium, John, and Klemser, which I didn't even know what that was, but I guess it's kind of a Jewish type of, well, you would recognize it if you heard it. I mean, it's pretty well known kind of dance music.
What's it called?
Klemser.
I don't know what it is.
It's not a who, it's a what? It's a type of dance.
It's a type of dance?
It's a type of dance.
I totally
music,
don't keep up with dance. I'm the world's worst dancer ever.
Most music is based in dance, And then this is all kind of wrapped up with a punk attitude. So it's surprisingly addictive, this Grim Luck. And then the third band is one of my favorites. That's a stoner desert rock with a little bit of, what would you call it, Western vibe to it. And that is Old Man Wizard.
I know Francis
Roberts. He is the frontman for Old Man Wizard, and he's the frontman for King Gorm. So if you like what he's been up to, you'll be interested in at least hearing what King Gorm has to offer, although it's a very different sound than Old Man Wizard. Very different sound than all these bands that they come from. And I think that's kind of the beauty, is they're really experimenting with something here. So you've got Hammond organs going on with screaming guitar solos and frantic drumming. It's
what kind of vocals?
Call it prog rock. It's clean vocals, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of weird 80s type music.
Ah.
So you're definitely going to hear the synth coming out there,
Yeah? Like Frankie Goes to Hollywood or something, or what?
I don't know. I don't listen to Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Well, what were the bands you're referring to? Like, what would be...
well, you just kind of recognize, 80s had a lot of...
like Thompson Twins or some shit?
They just had a lot of weird experimental stuff, new wave kind of stuff.
They did. Yeah, I admit it.
Yeah. So this is a song called Beyond Black Rainbow. It's from their self-titled debut. They do have, kind of a nice range on this album, and I wanted to kind of sample one of the other songs I liked, but this one is great too. So before we break, let's talk about Ice Howl.
Ice Howl, out of Bloomington, Indiana. Frontman Jason Roach, who's a busy beaver here. He's done a bunch of stuff over this last 6-7 years at least. I was looking around on Bandcamp, and A Wizard's Death, which is their official release, is a damn good song. And this is good stuff, man. Ice Howl, they're a heavy rock band. They've had like 3 EPs, or kind of EPs. And so this is really the first one I've seen where it's like 7 songs or more. Dare I say, if like you're a fan of Wolftooth, The Sword, Candlemass, a little bit maybe Grand Magus, it kind of is in that neighborhood, and you get, I think it's good stuff, and it's frankly pretty unique at times. So, and it rocks. The song rocks. You give it like that second listen, you're like, oh, okay, yep, already get it. So, I dig it, man.
Wasn't Jason in Thorax once upon a time?
Good God.
You don't know that band, do you?
No, I do know that name, but I don't know the name. They
played the first Doom and Stone Fest. Yeah, so I'd throw that band in there too if you like them. It's not the same, but it does have that fantasy element going on there.
Right.
So there's a lot to like about this one. I had a chance to debut one of their EPs last year because I really felt strongly about it, and they weren't doing anything formal in terms of premiering it, so I offered to air it out there on doomandstone.com, and I'm glad to see that they're continuing to play.
That's awesome. All the things you're doing for these bands needs to be consistently recognized, and you're not the only one, but you're someone who's been steady as a rock for so many years, and the people that do good shit, you got to give them love, man. That's the best way to put it.
I won't say no to love. Well, right now let's give the band some love here. We'll be back with more, and we got some interesting stuff straight ahead on the show, including some BoneHawk, Valkyrie, and White Noise Generator, and a supergroup that we'll introduce you to called Big Scenic Nowhere. All coming up on the Doomed and Stone Show. right, guys, we are back, and we just heard from Ice Howl out of Bloomington, Indiana, the record Cadence of the Curse. We heard A Wizard's Death. Before that, King Gorm showing us what they got on the new album. Got a foretaste of that with Beyond Black Rainbow, and kicking off last segment was Lord Fowl from their new album Glorious Babylon on Small Stone Records. We heard In Search Of. All right, plowing ahead, we've got new music from a band out of Canberra, Australia. We've talked about the scene at length. Did a compilation last year, Doom and Stone in Australia, Volume 1 was the tip of the iceberg. We had nearly 100 bands on there. Now, I've not been keeping up with Turtle Skull as much as I probably should have. I just kind of came across them by way of their second LP, Monoliths, which is coming out here in July.
And that's plural.
Monoliths, yeah. And the single they have up now is called Rabbit, and I really liked it. They've kind of made it more of a minimalistic psychedelic sound, and it really worked for me because sometimes you can get so layered and complex with so many different things going on. But, you know, the album is just really about the connection we share with the earth. There's a lot of sentiment related to Aboriginal history, and I imagine, you know, just living in that area, you have such a base connection to the land, you know. You can't help but think about those roots every single day. At least I would if I lived there. So it's not surprising to see that up here quite a bit.
It depends. If you live in a big city, yeah. It's probably really no different. Canberra is a pretty good sized city. I think that's where Witch Skull, feeling good, I think that's where they're from. Yeah. You know what I like about your pick? First of all, I like Turtle Skull. Anthony sent something over to me, I think. Anthony Blaney from down there in Australia. I think he set me up with a link to these guys, and I listened to it. Even the first time, I was like, oh, that's some cool stuff there. So I've kept it around and play it periodically and kind of dig it, man. So
yeah,
I like psychedelic in many forms. There's such a broad world in psychedelic. It's just amazing. Like today, I watched one of the most amazing psychedelic interaction video amazement I've seen in a long time. It was Yawning Man doing a video on Couch Lock and Rock, which is Brant Bjork's thing he set up with Ryan Jones. They actually were on the show last week. And they do this amazing like overhead video, and they're using drones and up close, I mean, multi-camera. And it's just live out in the middle of the desert. And they do that. It was like a 30, 40 minute set or something. It was insane. And the music is just so meandering. So, I mean, this psychedelic isn't meandering. And I think you even made a little note here. I mean, Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young or
well, it says they take inspiration from 3 places: Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Pink Floyd, and Black Sabbath. So if you can imagine all that kind of coming to bear in one album, and even over the course of one song, you have that penchant toward melody and vocal harmonies. You have the dreamy, meandering psychedelic thing going on, and it's all kind of grounded in, you know, a down-tuned sound that's not afraid to go heavy.
Right.
I haven't had a chance to listen to the rest of the album. I asked the band for a promo if they're planning on sending those out to all the reviewers later in the month, but I'm really desperate to hear the rest of this.
Yeah, good stuff. It's interesting because I just mentioned about the Brant Bjork thing, the Stone and Dusty thing. Couch Like and Rock, that's been going on the last 2 days, and they have some great psychedelic bands on there. And King Buffalo did a masterful job, they showed him, which is, you know, one of these great heavy psych bands that are just making something happen. But then on the other end of the spectrum, yesterday they had Radio Moscow and Parker up there, and that's that raw, you know, 70s, like Jimi Hendrix meets SRV meets, you know, just old school psychedelic that's no one even knows. Because Parker prides himself on deep catalogs. He messes around. Like him and Mike Varney swim in the same water where they just like these obscure bands from like the 1970. Even Todd Severin's this way. They're from like 69 or 70 to like 72, 74. And yeah, it ends up there's all this great music, of course, below the surface of what barely even popped out back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so the band that I'm doing is going to press pause on both of those psychedelic adventure styles and then go into one, which for me reminds me of summertime. And this band, The Sonic Dawn, has this unbelievable retro sound to them. They've done 4 albums, I believe. And these guys, they just have a patented sound, but they have this great jazziness groove going on. percussion-wise. Speaking of percussion, I met Jonas randomly in Yucca Valley at Gaute's for Masters of Reality.
Okay.
And we were outside in the smoking area. I forgot who I was hanging out with. There were a lot of us. I mean, it was a fucking party, that was. And he comes up and he's like, hey, well, I think he asked me if I was who I was. And I was like, oh, yeah? And so we started talking. He's like, and he said he was from Sonic Dawn, but I didn't get it. Like, it was loud. I'm fucking probably half stoned. Well, I am stoned at least, or buzzed. He's got an accent, so it's hard to hear. He drops in there that, like, no, I'm from the Sonic Dawn. And I'm like, oh, shit, I love you guys. And he, like, went and got me a CD at some point in time. But really just a great vibe that they have. Very late 60s. Late 60s psychedelic that gets close to like that free love kind of psychedelic vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, they're a delight. Every album has songs that, you got a nice sunny day and you just want to maybe get high and get to the pool or something. That's one of those just perfect ones. And it's an adventure. They don't sound the same. So they do different styles within all of it. So it's not a textbook, thing. So cool guys. Jonas, hopefully, I'll let you know that you were on the show. And, Jonas was a super cool cat. And they're off of Heavy Psych Sounds.
That's a label that can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Killing it almost all the time.
Let's get Gabriel Fiore on the show. I want to talk to
that would make more than any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah. The guy is an animal. He is a force. Like a force. He's just doing so many good things in the scene. And honestly, Italy, as we dig deeper, it's just, there's a lot of great music in Italy. Like heavy rock, psych, stoner, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's an incredible scene, and especially the doom side of the equation. It's got a lot going on.
Ooh. Give me some names real quick.
Well, you would ask me that. Today,
I'll give you a few of mine if you want, and you can think about yours.
Go ahead.
Mr. Bison, which is an outstanding band. They actually play Planet Does Rock. Black Elephant. Their last CD was easily top 10 for me of that whole year. They're on Small Stone. I think they're coming back out. Caliph is from Italy.
Mm-hmm.
What was the band you just played the other day? A couple weeks ago. Maybe 3-4 weeks ago.
Billy Clubs.
No, it wasn't them, but that was them too then.
Hell Obelisco was the one you're probably thinking of.
No, it wasn't that either. Don't worry about it. Jesus.
So the ones that I was thinking of, long-standing band called Doomraiser. There's another one called Three Eyes Left that I really liked. Came out with.
Did Doomraiser just put something out?
Yeah, they just put something out. We played something on the show way back. I think maybe our first or second episode of this season. Bredis has been in the scene for a long time, and Lunar Swamp, we played some of them. You might recall, kind of a bluesy doom. Yeah, there's just all kinds of stuff. We did a compilation on Italy, but I'm afraid it only scratched the surface because there's so much to showcase there.
Yep, it's a world thing.
Yeah, I think we're overdue for another one.
It's a world thing. Heavy rock movement is.
Right on, man. Well, let's talk about my pick, and this will bring us to the break. Molasses Barge from out of Pittsburgh. This is quintessential northeastern mid-Atlantic Appalachian doom. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you just need to kind of listen to a handful of the bands that are coming from that region, and you'll start to pick up on a vibe. Not so much like I guess you could say it's a distinct style. There's definitely a very strong doom underpinning that traces its roots back to Pentagram and St. Vitus, but there's also a heavy metal sensibility. A lot of times the vocalists are very strong. And there's also roots in southern stoner rock. And you kind of put those stylistic elements together and you've got a very powerful combo. Molasses Barge started out as a 3-piece. They're now a 5-member band. Next year will be their 10th birthday, so think about a decade together. And this started as a side project. The lead singer, Brian Balick, he is in an older band called Argus. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Franklin, Pennsylvania. And he's got one of those voices that you start to recognize. It's very authoritative. A lot of people have compared him to Screaming Mad D. Calhoun from the late great Iron Man. He's got this real strong vocal. And then as far as the band sound, I would kind of describe them as, besides the doom and heavy metal elements, there's a very distinct southern fried sludge sound. A marriage of crowbar and goat snake. And you'll probably hear a little bit more of the influence of the latter there because it's very groovy. A lot of groovy, bendy riffs. There's one on the album I really like called Black Wings Unfurl. So definitely check out their latest album, A Grayer Dawn. And we're going to hear the opener, The Snake, which I think is a great introduction to the album and to the band if you've never heard them before.
So you're saying it's the same lead singer as Argus?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, they're good stuff.
Do you have doubts?
No, I learned something new.
Okay.
Yeah, I like their so I'm from back in that, general area of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Northeastern, mid-Atlantic Appalachia. The mid-Atlantic thing is curious since they're from Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if that's really mid-Atlantic.
What would you say is mid-Atlantic?
Mid-Atlantic probably starts in Virginia. Probably Virginia, maybe Maryland, maybe just Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. Maybe Pennsylvania. I mean, Pennsylvania's a couple states.
According to Wikipedia, Mid-Atlantic comprises New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, and West Virginia.
Then what's New England? What's the Northeast?
New England is composed of 6 states: Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut.
Yeah, all right, I get it. I put those 2 areas together. Such distinctly different areas, too. But or as they say in North Carolina sometimes, Appalachians. Like literally there's a school in North Carolina, it's called Appalachian State. Not Appalachian, Appalachian.
I'll have to remember that.
So it's it's interesting to hear the different styles of, dare I say, American that we have in different regions of our country. It's pretty cool. But these guys rock. I mean, good shit.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear them.
Let's do.
We start out mellow and then we finish up with bam.
Hell yeah. And it's only gonna get fiercer from here. Back in moments on the Doomed and Stone Show.
Take all of your loose ends and tie them together. Maybe you will have just enough to escape forever. Falling out of place, suddenly you don't belong. All it takes is to realize that almost everyone gets it wrong. Why don't we go and get high? Live life under a clear blue sky. Stay out late and watch the stars. Leave our worries behind. Why don't we go and get high? Live life under a clear blue sky. Stay out late and watch the stars. Leave our worries behind. Feel like it's time to go. Pack a bag and get ready. There's no reason to take it slow. Leave behind all that is heavy. Get out while you can. Bravely spill that you're under. Don't wait till you're an old man who just wishes he was younger. Why don't we go and get high? Live life under a clear blue sky. Stay out late and watch the stars. Leave our worries behind. Why don't we go and get high?
From the album A Grayer Dawn, that was Molasses Barge with their third album. We heard The Snake, and before that, we got a taste of the Sonic Dawn's new one. Loose Ends was the name of that track from the album Enter the Mirage. And Turtle Skull kicked us off in our second segment with Rabbit from their new one coming out in just weeks, Monoliths. Now we turn our attention to Valkyrie, and John, why don't you kick us off for our third segment?
Hey, I got a quick question for you, though.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a turtle for a pet?
Never.
No?
I don't know why. I either didn't want one, or my parents didn't entrust me with a turtle, or something. I don't know.
What about a frog?
Nope.
No, toad?
We lived in Aberdeen, Washington when I was a kid, and so I'm sure I encountered a lot of those. I don't remember them. The only thing I remember from my kindergarten and first grade years in Aberdeen was we had a science project for school, and it involved something to do with insects. And I don't know if I was required to collect specimens or if I just got a bright idea to collect specimens, but my dad and I went in the backyard and we collected as many different bugs as we could and put them in a jar. The only mistake...
All together in one jar?
Yep, the only mistake I made was mixing in some ants there. So by the end of the day, all of them were dead, and the ants were still alive.
Oh my God.
And I just kind of, I guess I brought in my jar of bugs for show and tell. I don't know.
And they're all just dead, but the ants are milling around. And you're like, well, the ants are the ones that survived. It's kind of like the cockroach theory or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, I occasionally encountered a turtle or frog or toad. Why do you ask?
Just because you're the band you just played. Also, just random thoughts here. I had a chipmunk as a pet for about 2 or 3 years. It died. It was close to death. One of my cats brought it in. Mitzi brought in this random chipmunk and laid it down. And I was like a little kid. And we found it and we like brought it in, put it in a box, and wrapped it up and stuff. You know, we like closed up the hole that was in its lung or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, we put it in a gerbil cage and it lived for like 2.5 years.
No kidding.
We called it Chippy, which is cheesy as could be.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my random story for now. But hey, I'm real excited about this first song. A band that has a much anticipated new album coming out. This band, Valkyrie. Valkyrie features Pete Adams, that just recently parted ways with Baroness. So Pete Adams, guitarist, Baroness. And he joins his brother Jake, and these guys have a nice array of sound to them. This is their 4th album already. What would you think would be some influences, if you were to guess, with these guys?
I've always kind of sensed Southern rock influences for these guys. Like
what band in particular, Southern rock?
Well, there's only one that stands out in my mind is Leonard Skinner. Yeah, but I think it goes deeper than that, obviously. You know what? We need to do a whole show just on 70s bands and kind of expand our horizons a little bit. Bring some new stuff to the table, some new old stuff to the table, and kind
from the 70s.
Yeah, and kind of have a crash course in some of these bands from the heavy underground in stoner, proto metal, and psychedelic, obviously, and then some prog rock too. I think that would be really fun for us and our listeners.
Offline. I know a few people.
Yeah, and then maybe I won't feel as ignorant when I say, oh, well, this band clearly it shows the influences of this, and this.
I mean, I think Valkyrie is a really, really a strong band that it has some progressiveness to it. They work their songs in a creative way. This isn't like a point A to point B, like to a point A kind of band necessarily. And good vocals, good guitar work. And the new album, it's called Fear. So the song we're going to hear is Feeling So Low. So check that out. The new album comes out July 24th. So it's going to be a while. And they're on Relapse, which is a big label. So a really good sized label. So congratulations to Valkyrie. It looks like you guys are popping it off good here to start.
All right. After that, we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit and hear from a Vancouver band called Seer. Like Seer, the Soothsayer, the Prophet. They are I describe them as a modern doom sludge band. They definitely have modern sludge influence. And course, the very noticeable grounding in downtuned doom. This one is a tribute to Chris Cornell, who passed away on May 18th in 2017. We played a few weeks ago a song by Hippie Death Cult, a cover by Hippie Death Cult, and this is another cover. This is a Soundgarden cover this time, and it is a classic from their, I think it's Bad Motorfinger days, and this is Room 1,000 Years Wide. True story, this is like the only time a quote-unquote celebrity death actually made me cry. I think just because this is what I call my soul food. So it's interesting it's always risky, covering a band this iconic, this is distinct. What can you say that hasn't been said? But Seer does a really good job of kind of giving us a different look at Room 1,000 Years Wide, and I really liked it and wanted to share it with you all.
Yeah, it's a good choice, man, and apropos for honoring, for me, easily one of the most important singers ever. Today, 8 years ago, I think it was, I have a memory on Facebook. It was either today or the day before. It shows up my memories. I saw Soundgarden in Austin, Texas, with 3 of my high school buddies. Actually ended up being 4. Those kind of experiences, man, are, we all just felt so lucky just to be able to be together. And then one of our buddies, DJ, he scoped out and maneuvered it to a certain week and said, hey, Soundgarden's playing. And we're all like, holy fuck. Like they're, you know what I mean?
Right on.
And it was an amazing experience. It was in some very medium-sized venue that was kind of open.
That's nice.
It was almost like a farmhouse or some weird name. But it wasn't a farmhouse, but it had some weird name. But it was just an unbelievable show. We moved up. We were in the center for a change, and it was general ad. But we had positioned enough of us so we had a little area where we weren't getting shoved out or whatever the case was, and it was just a magical view of just watching Chris. Just it was insane. I'm a Soundgarden fan, probably the most of almost anything, and that was before he died. So, only two musicians I think made me cry after they died, and one was him and one was Ronnie James Dio. And saw them front row when I was 17 or 16.
Wow.
And my buddy Paul, DJ, the guy that also set up the other thing, he's the one to help with that. He skipped school and went to, back then you went to department stores where there was a Ticketmaster inside. And so he went in the back to Woody's or Heck Company, I can't remember which one. And he skips a couple classes to school and does that. And so, we don't have cell phones back then, so we have no idea what's happening. So I'm in the middle of Mrs. Cool's English class, and I see something out of the corner of my eye, and it's Paul, like showing the tickets, telling me to come outside. I go outside, and Paul's like, dude, look at this. And he's like shaking it so much, I can't even read what it is. And so we finally look at it, he goes, it's front row. Wow. I mean, I'm just,
That's
when
awesome.
things like that happen, you just have to feel just so thankful. Like it didn't happen because someone knew us. It didn't happen because, you're somebody's son or kid or anything. It happened, it just happened, And we got to be thankful when like really good stuff happens more than sometimes dwelling on the really bad stuff that happens, I guess.
For sure.
But Dio just brought me great joy. His music is literally what really helped me launch into metal. Was like Dio and Maiden and AC/DC. And Black Sabbath was later. The twisted up world of 1983. And then Judas Priest. And
for
then
me,
you're
it
like,
was
holy shit.
well into the late 90s before I got into any of the grunge scene and Black Sabbath or any of that myself. And it wasn't until... I've shared on the show before, but it wasn't until a leave from basic training where I went to the record store and had a friend give me recommendations, and one of them was Soundgarden's Down on the Upside. That was my first Soundgarden album.
Like you'd heard Outshined and Fell on Black Days and
not even that until I got into the military.
Black Old Sun.
Yeah, with the drill sergeant would grace us every once in a while with radio while we were cleaning the barracks. It's just it's very austere type of environment. We weren't allowed to even drink milk. We were punished by being denied milk for like 2 weeks. So
Wait a minute,
it was like a prison type
basic
environment.
training?
Yeah, Fort Benning, Georgia,
Oh, yeah,
for the
yeah.
infantry.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, so
many friends have gone through.
you know,
that stuff. It's not-
when you got to hear the radio, that was a really special thing. And then, of course, your freedoms kind of get more as the weeks go on and you kind of get your shit together. But yeah, Down on the Upside became a really important album in my life. And if I had a time machine, it would be to go back to the early 90s when my family moved from Texas to Oregon. And I would just totally rebel and hit the I-5 and go up to Seattle and just revel in the grunge scene. I knew nothing about it at that point, living in a
How old were you?
I was 17, 18.
Okay.
There was just no window to that world. There was no internet. Radio was not allowed in the house. It was a very
Wow.
strict fundamentalist Christian household. And,
Right.
and I was drinking the Kool-Aid at that point. So it actually took me getting my first job at a Christian radio station where some of my fellow DJs were a little bit more worldly wise, that I started catching up on some of that music. And then that one day I decided I'm going to get out of here, get on my own 2 feet, and join the military. That is what broke the floodgates open. And by then it was, everyone was still alive. Let's just put it that way, except for Kurt Cobain.
Lane.
Yeah, Lane was still alive. Chris
Lane's
obviously
dead?
alive.
Oh, you mean back then?
Yep. And
Yeah.
then Soundgarden hadn't broken up yet.
Yeah.
But they did produce their last album before the reunion, and that's the one that kind of got me turned on to their sound. And then I worked backwards from there.
Whoa. Always an interesting path.
Yeah. Let's talk about BoneHawk. What are they up to these
BoneHawk
days?
makes a return with the song Iron Mountain. I believe they got an album coming up here, but this is the first single in a number of years. They did something with a Southbound, like a tribute to Thin Lizzy compilation a while back. I think they got a couple, 3 songs on that, and so that's a pretty apropos, I'd say, also for BoneHawk. They had an album just before this, Albino Rhino, on Ripple, that is a killer album. I'm a big believer in BoneHawk, but they've been away for a little bit of time. Kalamazoo boys from up there in Michigan. Michigan's got a good scene up there. I know they went through a little personnel change, a big personnel change, but it looks like they're coming out the other side strong as they start things going with this song Iron Mountain.
Man, looking forward to hearing this one. And obviously their last effort was such a legendary contribution to the scene. I think a lot of people know them from that Albino Rhino album.
Yeah. And you actually picked a song from them that was on the Ripple series.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So they were part of that also.
Very cool.
Yeah, great band.
Well, with that, let's break. We've got one more segment left, and it's a big one. We've got a lot of new music to introduce you to. We're excited about some of our discoveries here, so stick around. We'll be right back with more on the Doomed and Stone Show. You've been listening to Iron Mountain, new single by BoneHawk, and another single came out by Seer. It was a cover of a Soundgarden song, a classic, Room 1,000 Years Wide. And Valkyrie is also making a big return with a new album called Fear. We heard Feeling So Low. And now, John, take us into our final segment. I know you got some stuff you're excited to share.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go back a little bit earlier this year with a band. I do it today because, again, the couch lock and rock thing was just so cool and involved multiple people. As this band right here, Big Scenic Nowhere. So they were actually going to get together and had a lot of the musicians ready for this year's Stone and Dusted to do it all together. Now, some may say, okay, well, who are the musicians? And I can't give you them all right? That's first off. I'll give you the ones that are on the song, but I'll give you a few of them along the way. So you got Tony Reed, you got Bob Balk of Fu Manchu, Ian Graham and Lisa Alley of The Well, Gary Ars, and Mr. Stinson on drums from Yanni Man, along with Mario Lally also. And on this song, this one I picked, it's the opener to the album. The song's called The Glim, and it's on Vision Beyond Horizon. And I'll tell you, this is a sleeper song. This was something where people slept on this song and didn't realize how good of a song this is. And you got Alan Johannesson on vocals. And if you don't know who that is, he's has an amazing life. That's what's happened to him and everything involved. And he's played with Queen's Stone Age and a number other of. As soon as you look him up, you'll see he's done a lot of amazing stuff. And he's on vocals. Gary Ars and Bob Balk on guitars. So 2 guitar attack. 2 distinctly different guitarists.
That is stacked,
Gary
man.
And Bob. I mean, yeah. And then Tony Reed's on it, playing the Mellotron.
No kidding.
The Mellotron. And Mario Lally on bass and Bill Stinson, both those guys from Yanni Man also. So you got like Yanni Man, Tony Reed, Alan Johannesson just paving the way with these amazing vocals. And throw in one of the guitarists from Fu Manchu, Bob. And this song just rocks. And the album is an exploration that literally you'll hear a song that it's sung by the 2 from The Well, but different people playing the other instruments. Tony Reed sings a bunch of songs on this album. And so you have different vocalists throughout the album, meshing with other musicians.
I love the collaboration that's taking place now. I mean, it's nothing new. It just seems to be happening more abundantly. And of course, this is a pre-pandemic project, but still, it's come at a really good time where a lot of people are joining forces and doing some really cool stuff.
Tony Reed is instrumental on what he's doing. This is one of the hardest working musicians there is.
I agree.
The heavy underground. He does like his Jack Daniels, I think it was. But anyways, he has just done an amazing job with this, simultaneously with doing something with Most Generator.
Yeah.
Like, there's music going to come out, he's working on a lot of things. This guy's always working. He's always artistically driven with a certain vision. He collaborates easy with people. His performance, as a singer, frontman, guitarist, whichever one, he is strong in all those. And it's great when you get to see a Tony Reed live. It's almost, it's been a great show every time I've seen him. Every time the man brings it.
Yeah, I filmed him about 3 or 4 times now. And one thing I didn't realize is Tony's also just a dynamic producer, recording,
absolutely,
mixing, mastering. He's
an all-star in the underground. And I think people realize that you got guys like him, and then you got guys like Brant that putting on these productions and putting music out consistently and that is relevant. This has just been an amazing, cool little album. They had an EP before that even. So Big Scenic Nowhere, folks. If you want some desert royalty blended in with some other amazing musicians, that's going to be something to really be unique listen for you.
Hell yeah.
Now I get to go again. Jesus. All right. So this band is called White Noise Generator off the Dead Leaves album, and it's called Sometimes. And they're from Germany. Yeah, I'm going to have you pronunciate that.
pronunciate that. Pasal?
Okay.
I mean,
Pasal.
yeah, there's not too many ways you can get that wrong. There's no umlauts in it, so I think you're safe.
Okay. So the 2019 album, it's 4 songs that are just heavy progressive stoner metal. And it has definitely even some 90s textures blended into this stuff. So all the songs are long. I think the shortest is 6, the longest is like 13 or 12. And they're all really good. Like, it's just kind of stuff where the vocals will not be crystal clear and clean all the time, but it's not the crazy yelping and everything else to just grunge. You know, it's good blend. What I like about it, man, their songs are long enough that it does different parts in the song. So they're later on, like, 5 minutes into the song, it's like a whole nother thing going on. And so they got good shit. Did you get a chance to check them out?
I did, man. Yeah, I like them a lot. It was one of those I had initially, downloaded when the promo came out, had intentions of listening, never did.
Right.
This gave me the perfect reason to do it, and I liked what I heard. I think that they got a good sound going.
Yeah, I dig them. I think they're good shit, for sure. White Noise Generator.
Yeah, check them out. And let's talk about my 2 picks, and we'll send the folks off and give them a chance to listen. I've been wanting to introduce people to Eye of Nyx for some time. They're a band that doesn't fit neatly into any one category other than they're damned heavy, but they're genre blenders. So they do a really good job of taking different styles and making them into something unique, kind of like a cook does with different ingredients, I guess. And they've got their own unique recipe, and it's working really well for them. I had a chance to film them back in 2015, and their lead singer, Joy Von Spain, she has quite the vocals. She, at that point, was almost doing like an operatic style, which is really trippy to hear with like a doom sound. You won't really hear that on the track I have selected. This is Concealing Waters. It's the first single from their 3rd album, which is out June 19th on Prophecy Productions. It's called La Gia, and I like what I'm hearing so far. It's this dark swirling vortex of light and dark and really pulls you in. It has a music video that you'll probably want to check out, and it gives you a sense for a lot of the emotional themes that are involved here. But you'll hear music-wise some doom, some black metal, and some post-metal.
Nice. Prophecy Productions. That
Yeah.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, they put on Prophecy Fest, based out in New York, I think, yeah.
I get it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. And so the next band just sounds cool, just the name alone.
Yeah, Astral
Tell us
Sleep.
about Astral Sleep.
Astral Sleep out of Tampere, Finland. They were founded in 2004, and I will say they have eluded me for years, and I guess decades if you're thinking about they're almost 20 years old. This is their 3rd album. It's called Astral Doom Music with a CK, so it's extra hard. And what's interesting about this band is they're singing half their album in English, half of it in Finnish. It's 4 songs, so you have 2 in English, 2 in Finnish. So I guess if you want to, they got their lyrics available, so you can do a little Google Translate on that if you want to hear what's going on in the second 2 songs. We're going to hear one of the English songs, the second from the album. This is Integration. They state that the album is like life itself, beautiful yet horrid, complex and multi-layered, ever-changing and in constant movement. That's the most I can pick up on in terms of a program, but you'll hear it in the music. It's heavy, but it's not oppressive, right? It's accessible, I would say. It's not gonna totally
I checked out.
overwhelm
I like it.
you. You like it? That's good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna leave people with this one. I think it's the perfect one to send us out to. It's a little bit longer than our average song. I think it's near 11 minutes. So hopefully, folks will enjoy it.
Heck yeah, man. Got a nice little blend today.
Yeah, I think we got a nice variety here.
Finland, Germany, Australia,
Italy,
multiple parts of our own country.
Australia,
And
Brazil.
down in Brazil,
Yeah, Kevin.
It's good, man. That's what it's all about. It's the spreading of music from all over, and it's one big rock revolution. How cheesy. It's just one big great scene.
I call it Doom Around the World.
Yep, it's all about the world. Well, hey, thanks for having me on today. It's been super fun and cool, and I look forward to hearing this thing later on.
Thanks for being with me as usual, John. If you guys would like to support the show, we definitely can use your help in funding our platform and helping us to pay hosting fees, software licenses, equipment upgrades, all that kind of good stuff. The place to do that is on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Doomed and Stoned and become a High on Fiverr supporter. That's $5 a month, and you get access to exclusive shows, which I put together just for you. I'm starting to do a little bit more behind-the-scenes stuff, too. So, like the recent Brant Bjork interview, I uploaded that in its entirety unedited, so you could hear what it was like before I took snippets out and arranged it with music. And I don't know, some people might find that interesting.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to maybe start doing more stuff like that. Perhaps, this is not a promise, but perhaps when I get my act together a little bit more and I'm a little bit more ahead of schedule, maybe I'll upload the show like a day or two early for patrons. That would be kind of a cool benefit to have. Otherwise, the main perk I've been giving folks in exchange for their support is a curated selection of new doom metal and new stoner rock, and that's usually like 2 hours worth a pop, and I put out 3 to 4 of those shows a month. Not a lot of talk on there. It's just really the music, stuff that we don't always have time to play. So check it out if you're interested. patreon.com/Doomed and Stone, and it's listeners like you who make this show possible. We really appreciate that. All right, guys. Well, we will see you all later, and look forward to starting the summer together on the Doomed and Stone show. Doom on.
Rock on.
Does anybody have the time?
5 after 12.
Okay, that's enough for today. On Monday, we'll talk about another pattern that might be of interest to all of you, cannibalism. Have a good weekend.
The preceding was a presentation of Doomed and Stoned.